All right. I didn't get to do my countdown.
Oops.
I was running my mouth. This way. I mean, running my mouth. Hey, Sacramento. How is everyone? It is Wednesday, and you're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are selling Sacramento. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a shift from the real estate aspect, because we are in a very critical time, moment, in space, in this place. We have an election coming up. And it's a critical election, and it's a critical election in particular for us as African Americans, as Black people. On the show today, I want to use my platform, and I'm going to be using this platform for probably a few more times before Election Day to bring information to all of our listeners, as I'm sure other hosts are doing on their shows as well. It's very important to bring information directly to you, non-partisan, on how to vote, what things are on the ballot, where to find information, et cetera, et cetera. Today specifically, we are going to be talking about a wonderful initiative. I have as my guest today Ms. Faye Wilson Kennedy of the Sacramento Area Black Caucus. Hello, Ms. Faye.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you for inviting the Sacramento Area Black Caucus, also known as SABC. So I know it's a long name, so we can say SABC, and sometimes we even shorten it by saying the caucus and everything.
I like Sacramento Area Black Caucus.
Oh,
that just sounds so powerful and strong, but we will say SABC.
SABC. Okay.
Good,
okay.
Good. But we've got Ms. Faye on the show today because SABC has launched an initiative, and it's called the 2020 Voter Education Project, Black Voters Matter Project.
Right.
And so we're going to talk about that on today's show. But before we get started, I want you all to know a little bit more about Ms. Faye. Tell us a little bit about your background,
Sure.
who you are.
Okay, so I'm the current chairperson of the Sacramento Area Black Caucus, and I've been a member of the organization, if you can believe it, since I was a young college student, it's been a while. Joined like in the 70s.
Wow.
When I was a student at Sac State, and been involved. And matter of fact, it was through the Sacramento Area Black Caucus that I really came of age in terms of my view on life. And so I'm really glad to still be part of the organization and everything. So the Black Caucus itself has been around since 1972.
Wow.
And so we have at least one of our original founders, Dr. David Colvin, who's a retired government and ethnic studies professor. And a lot of people don't realize the Black Caucus was I still say it's one of the premier organizations in Sacramento. Dr. Lee, the late Dr. Lee of the Sacramento Observer was one of our founding members.
Wow.
And so what we try to do ever since our inception is to increase Black folks vote, get out to vote. And so every year we do different things. This year, because of the pandemic, you can't really hold events,
right?
Particularly in-person events. So what we decided to do is come up with a voters, not so much like a voter information, encouraging people to read and providing resources, not only for the adults, but also resources where parents can share with their teenagers and even young children.
Oh, cool.
And so those are some of the things that we do historically within the Sacramento Area Black Caucus. And what we do within the Black Caucus, even within our organization, we bring our voter pamphlets, and we talk about things. People oftentimes have questions, particularly around the ballot initiative and the proposition. So we talk about that within our organization, and we encourage people, churches, institutions This year is really critical.
Right.
Everyone wants to talk about what's happening at the national level,
Mm-hmm.
but there's critical things at the local level we need to be talking about.
Because on the local level is where it directly impacts
us.
The things that are national are important.
Yes.
But even more important,
it's the local level. So this year, the Sacramento Area Black Caucus is partnering with the Black Parallel School Board, and we're hosting a Zoom candidates forum for folks who are running for school board, because our children's education is so important.
Absolutely.
And if we really want parents and students in the community to come and participate, it's free. It's going to be Saturday, October 3rd. It's on the blog. And it's going to be from 11:30 to 1:30, and you'll get a chance. All of the candidates who are running for school board for the Sacramento Unified School District have confirmed. And so it's a way you could hear from them. You could possibly ask them questions. But it's the local level.
Right.
And I think if people begin to focus on what's happening locally in their community, in their neighborhoods, then we can begin to really, really see change in everything.
Give us the address of that blog.
Okay, the blog is sacramentoabc.blogspot.com.
And one more time.
Sure, it's sacramentoabc.blogspot.com. So if you just go to your internet, type in the Sacramento Area Black Caucus, believe it or not, it will come up that way. We're also, the Sacramento Area Black Caucus has a very active Facebook page. And even though we say our name is the Sacramento Area Black Caucus, anyone can participate in any of our activities, and we encourage because that's how you build
all ethnicities.
All ethnicities. That's how you build people's capacity by coming, listening to, hearing different perspectives. And so that's one of the things I like about the Black Lives Matter movement, is because you see all people out there. It's not just one group of people. So yeah, come on down and visit us and everything.
So you said a whole lot more. You got you put like 5 of the things I was going to talk about already out there. And we haven't even taken the break yet. But this is good information, because that means if it just rolled off like that, that means you have even more in here. So we're going to talk about it. And I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about what the Sacramento Area Black Caucus does, but you've laid that out. So now I want to ask you, if someone wants to participate, how do they join? What kind of capacities are there where they might be able to join or get involved?
So the downside,
because you started when you were in.
Yeah, I started when I was literally a young college student.
So maybe there are some college students that are listening right now who are asking. I know a lot of young adults are wondering, how do we get involved? How do we do more?
Right.
You know, they're running downtown and joining in the marches, and that's great, you know, but what else can they do that may be even more constructive?
Sure. So people can always visit our Facebook page. They can call us at area code 916-484-5025, and we will gladly answer the phone and direct them. We meet the first Thursday of every month, and we meet via conference call. And occasionally we do Zoom. We have a lot of members that are a little older, and Zoom kind of like trips them up, but they can all do conference call. And so we meet, and so we encourage people. And so what happens is, the Black Caucus, we partner with a lot of different groups. So we're doing work in the community. So the Black Caucus is an active member of the local group of the Sacramento Poor People's Campaign. We also are active members of an organization that's called Sacramento Services Not Sweet, where we're really dealing with the impact of homelessness in our community. And what we're trying to help people understand is that in Sacramento County, we have more than 11,000 people who are unhoused, who are homeless. People don't realize 40% of those folks look like 3 of us here, are Black folks, are Black and brown folks. And so what can the community do? So the community can work through their churches. The young people can work with us. They can start their own thing to really address how are we really going to address the issue that's really important. Because you know what, all of us are 1 or 2 paycheck away from being unhoused ourselves.
So there are a lot of different areas. It's not just politics.
Not just politics. Matter of fact, the Sacramento Area Black Caucus actually spun off the Black Parallel School Board, because we were finding parents primarily parents, but as well as educators were coming to us, and they had so many concerns. So we held a town hall, what we call an old-fashioned town hall, and we listened to their concerns. And so we said what they need is a place where they just talk about nothing but educational issues as it relates to their children and everything. So we spun off that particular organization more than 11 years ago. And the Black Parallel School Board, it only deals with educational related issues. So for example, and the Black Caucus still interacts with that. So for example, for years we had been telling the district, the Sacramento Unified School District, that there's a digital divide. That poor kids in general don't have access to technology, and that you needed to begin to look at how you're going to close that technology gap. And one thing you could do is make sure kids have access to laptops or Chromebooks, but more than that, make sure they know how to keyboard. So if you're a certain age, you took typing classes. Nowadays, kids don't necessarily have access to keyboarding unless they're taking business classes. So it does no good to have a Chromebook if you can't use the keyboard.
You can't navigate it.
If you can't navigate it, everyone can use the cell phone, but when you are required to take a test, you need to use all of your 10 fingers.
It's not just your thumbs.
Right. So for at least 4 years, we were really talking about that. And then the pandemic hit and it became a reality. And how it really impacted poor kids, and particularly Black and brown kids. So those are some of the things that we do. So see, that's an issue that just doesn't impact one group of people. If you're poor, it impacts you. If you're Black and brown and indigenous, it really impacts you. Yeah, so those are some of the issues.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the 2020 Voter Education Project, Black Voters Matter Project, and we're going to lay out some step-by-steps on how you can prepare for this 2020 election. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
That was good information.
Yes,
I didn't know you all did all that.
We just, like people would come. One time we had like 10 parents with similar issues but different issues. Kids being suspended. Parents didn't know anything about an IEP. They felt intimidated. And so we said, we can't do this. We need a group that's all they do. And so we spun it all. And some of us serve on both. But we have part of that group. We have parents. We have educators.
Has that group been successful in getting the issues heard?
Because we tried negotiating. We tried being nice. Got nowhere. And we said, okay. We sued them.
And what happened?
We won, and we were not interested in money, but we were interested in them living up to the law as it relates to kids with special needs.
Okay.
We were, the good thing, the attorneys walked us through, like Breonna Taylor family, they're not really interested in the money, so to speak. They really want
those officers
prosecute, and they want change. So we weren't interested in the money.
Right.
What we wanted was to have policies and procedures. So for example, if a parent doesn't understand their IEP, individualized education plan for their child, they can't help their child.
Right.
So we want to make sure those things are done, that they're implemented. If the parent is English, it's not their primary language, it needs to be in their primary language, whether it's Spanish, whatever. So different things like that.
So bridging the gap between the needs that the kids have with education to helping their parents understand how to help them through those.
Yes, and that all parents have certain rights, and we were also seeing so many kids being suspended for crazy reasons. Just crazy. He looked at me. I felt intimidated. Well,
what?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and sad.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that we the Black Caucus have done, and I think we have a bit of independence because we don't necessarily take money from governmental entities. So it's community members who make donations to us. We got scholarships. we've been doing this for more than 20 years, particularly the scholarships.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's how you're funded off of?
All for people making donations to us. Yeah. No, we receive no government money. None. Even if they offer, we probably wouldn't take it because we want to be independent and speak
and
our
not
mind.
in anybody's pocket.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I might have to join the
Yeah.
SABC.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to dive into the project.
Okay.
Hey, you guys. Hey, we are back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and I have with me today my special guest, Miss Faye Kennedy, Faye Wilson Kennedy.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
And she's with the Sacramento Area Black Caucus. And we've been talking today about the Sacramento Area Black Caucus, SABC, and the different things that they do, the different resources that they have. And I just want to say, I'm not going to take that call because chances are that call is not about this show. And I did not give out the phone number, so I'm not going to interrupt. But before we went on break, you were talking about different areas where the Sacramento Area Black Caucus focuses. One of those areas you said was education.
Sure, education.
And there's an arm that you guys have.
Sure, we spun off an organization that's been around 11 years, which is the Black Parallel School Board.
What I wanted to mention about that, I don't think everybody heard. I asked you, how successful was that Parallel School Board in having your voices heard? And what did you tell me?
I think we're very successful.
You said
we ended up suing the Sacramento Unified School District because...
And you won.
And we won. And we're working out... we want them to implement policies that are fair and equitable to all students, but particularly to Black students. And so it's not about the money. It's about making sure all students have access to quality education, and that we're taxpayers and we need that. So those are some of the things that we do within the Black Parallel School Board. We don't go around suing everybody.
Right.
But
it came to that.
It came to that.
You said
we tried negotiating, we tried talking, we tried discussing things. And so what we always tell people, we meet the first Saturday, the Black Parallel School Board, we meet the first Saturday of every month. When we used to meet in person, we still meet the first Saturday of every month on Zoom. And we encourage teachers, administrators, the community to come so they can hear firsthand from the parents and students. And so some teachers came, some administrators, and they heard firsthand some of the challenges that parents and students encounter within the district. This is probably happening within other districts, but right now we're only dealing with Sacramento Unified School District. That's not to say that Sacramento Unified School District is a bad district. I am not saying that, but they were not, Black students with special needs were not receiving the quality of education that they needed to receive.
And I just wanted to bring that up for a couple of reasons. Number one, because our education for our children is very important, and it's right up there with everything else that's important for us right now. And we need to know that there are resources available. We need to know that there are organizations that are actively pursuing change and actually getting results, not just out there saying they're doing stuff, but making it happen. I wanted you all to know that this organization exists, and if you are one of those parents who are looking for somewhere to plug in, this is where you want to get plugged in.
Yes.
So also, we're here today about 2020 voting campaign that's coming up, the election, and we want to talk about the SABC 2020 voter education project called Black Voters Matter Project.
Right.
So I took this information straight from the website, so I'm going to read it to you all. It says, with great excitement and a profound sense of hope and vision, we're pleased to announce the Sacramento Area Black Caucus will launch an initiative entitled Voter Education Project, Black Voters Matter. The purpose of the project is to inform Black people about the November elections, local, state, and national, to encourage them to become involved in electoral campaigns of their choice at every level, and to vote themselves, and to participate in getting out the Black vote for the election at every level. So what are the resources? What is this campaign about in your own words? And what are the resources that we're going to find when we go to this page?
Sure. So what it's about is realizing all of us have an opportunity to vote come November 3rd. Actually, you can vote earlier than November 3rd.
Yeah, and explain that too.
Sure. So there's early voting starts very, very early. If my memory serves me right, it starts as early 29 days before November 3rd. People can start the voting process. So you could go to Sacramento County the Voter Center on 65th, walk in, they give them your name. They'll make sure you're a registered voter. And if you're not registered to vote, if you have ID on you, you can get signed up to register and you can vote just like that. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way, go to your particular neighborhood at your vote center there and vote. That way, how we've done it in the past, or you can vote absentee ballot and different things like that. But people need to know they have that information and those options. So, and all of this information is on the blog, but it's also, they can just Google Sacramento County voter registration, and all that information will come up.
How did this campaign come to be?
So one of our members, Dr. David Colvin, who is a retired college professor from Sac State, he, like I said, we've been doing this every year and we do it a little bit different. And he said, we have to find ways to encourage people to vote. We have to come up with a way where we refer people, provide the information for them. So he called a meeting of the political committee, which I serve on the political committee, and we just brainstorm how we can share information, what's needed. And so we start conducting our own research. We're not the only group that's doing this. I wish I could say we were, but there's many other groups doing this, but this is our way of doing this. And we oftentimes partner with other groups, sharing information, but that's how it really got started.
Right. And it's okay that there are other groups doing it. The more, the merrier, the more, the better, because that's what we need. We need to get the word out.
Right.
So with the resources that people will find on the page, let's talk a little bit about some of those resources.
So for example, you will find information on there about the vote center for Sacramento County. There's information about the presidential debates, the dates where people can tune in for that. I said earlier, there's information about the upcoming candidates forum, and I just learned there's another school board candidates forum that's being sponsored by another group. So I'll be adding that to the page. Okay. But there's also articles that people can read. There's also a book about voting that parents can introduce their children to. There's what we also are trying to help probably folks under 30 understand the historical significance about the power of the vote and about how previous generation really struggled to make sure people can vote now. Yeah. So my parents and probably your parents didn't vote, didn't have access to the vote. I know my parents didn't, because they were there. If my father was alive today, we'd be 100. My parents were from the Deep South, so that really determined a lot for them. And so just helping people really understand the legacy of voting and the historical significance. And so all that information is on, we've done our research, we found articles, we're trying to connect people to different organizations that's doing the work. So for example, the National Poor People's Campaign has information about voting. Their whole thing is to get poor people out to vote. Because if you can get poor folks out to vote, that's a large segment of our population across the country, in Sacramento, in California. So there's many different organizations that's this year particular are really trying to increase the voter turnout. And one of the things I like about Reverend Barber, he said that they're nonpartisan but very political. And you have to look at it that way. We're not interested in the video on your page. We're not interested in telling people who to vote for. We just want you to vote. Yeah. And we want you to conduct your own research.
I like that it's nonpartisan.
You have to be nonpartisan. I don't want
there are some obvious things that are negative, and we won't get into all of that. But ultimately, there's pros and cons.
There's pros and cons
on every side.
On every side, because one of the things about the Sacramento Area Black Caucus, we may all look the same, but we are definitely different in our terms of our political views, in terms of who we vote for. I can guarantee you that. Oh, yes, it runs the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, it runs the spectrum.
And I saw on the page you were mentioning teaching the history and the legacy of what others have gone through to get us to the point to where we are. And there is a YouTube video on the page called Lillian's Right to Vote, a celebration of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And it's a storybook.
Yes, it's a storybook. And one of the reasons I'm a former preschool kindergarten teacher, and I think that the younger we can introduce history to children, because in the process of the parents reading the book to the child, they're learning the history.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way, it's a dual learning, and it's a video, but it's also a wonderful book. So when I found that resource, I said, oh, I'm gonna put that there, and so it's really, really good. So
I want to share. I want to share a few other resources.
Okay.
You brought up one of them, and I'm just going to mention them again. And on the page, it says it's a small sampling of the resources and information and tools in preparation of the November elections. And so the BNC, it says, is inspired and guided by the historic 1972 National Black Political Convention in Gary, Indiana. And they convened to propose a national Black agenda that would hold any candidates seeking the support of Black voters accountable to the needs, interests, and aspirations of Black people. That's really what we need to be paying attention to.
Right.
And who has a Black agenda?
And you know what's real interesting about that is because my husband, I think it was in 98, actually participated in the 1998 version of that.
Oh.
And the thing about what people don't really understand is that, just like I said, is that we all may look alike, but we all are different in terms of our political views or our political ideology. And so when you try to get us to come to an agreement, sometimes it's kind of hard. But I think there's basic things that we all can agree on. We want to end racism. We want to reduce the number of particularly Black folks and living in poverty. There's a direct correlation to why there's so many unhoused Black people and brown people in this country and everything. So, it's those policies. We have to. That's why you have to look at the policies and everything. So so those are resources.
So I want to point out that if you go on that page, you can find out more information about the 2020 Black National Convention at the website is blacknovember.org, blacknovember.org. But if you go to sacramentoabc.blogspot.com,
you'll find it.
You'll find that and more
information.
So also the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation welcomes you to participate in their 2020 virtual annual legislative conference, which is taking place now. I've seen this in the California Black Chamber newsletter, and they've been putting it there week after week because it's from August 31st through October 2nd. That's some conference. That is over a month long virtual they're not playing about the information they're sharing.
They have town halls on different issues. So they're having a lot on dealing with education, dealing with the COVID, dealing with businesses. Why are so many Black businesses disproportionately impacted by the COVID? I mean, there's reasons for that. So if you get a chance, go to the website, jump in. It's a way. It's a way to build your own capacity of learning and everything.
We can't say that we don't know. Saying that you don't know now is no longer an excuse, because everything that you need to know, don't need to know, want to know,
it's there.
It's there. It's literally at your fingertips.
Right.
And this is literally a month-long conference in order to get yourself educated. So you were also talking about the Black Parallel School Board. I'm now a fan of. And the SABC are sponsoring a Zoom Candidates Forum. This is what you talked about earlier.
A Zoom Candidates Forum that's coming up on Saturday, October 3rd from 11:30 to 1:30. And it's where we invite all the candidates that are running for school board in Sacramento. They don't all run at the same time. It's the even numbers.
Mhm.
And so all of them have just confirmed, I think, as of Sunday.
Mhm.
And so they'll be there. They'll get, they will have, the candidates will have an opportunity to share information about themselves, their platform, their vision for the school district. And then we will provide time for people, Q&A for parents and community members to ask questions, for students to ask questions. This has been a really tough year for parents because their parents, they're not trained teachers, but they've been
new form of learning.
Yeah, and it's been difficult for both parents as well as educators.
Right.
If people are not used to Zoom, it's I love technology. I can't imagine not having Zoom, but it's hard.
It takes a certain personality type, because I myself, if you're not a person who's super attentive, you know, Zoom is not really a good platform for you to learn.
Right.
There are different learning. We all learn differently.
Yes.
What are the different learning
Right.
types?
There's different learning styles, and the younger the child, the harder it is
to pin them down,
to keep them engaged. You know, young children up to age 3rd grade, they have very short attention span.
Right.
And so the teacher almost has to be like a musician to keep them going, to keep them attentive. And so all of that, as well as, once again, as I said earlier, poor folks just didn't have access to the technology. Right. To the point where we're finding out that even though through the district, parents were provided access to Wi-Fi at a very reasonable rate, it was at the cheapest rate. So what we found out from parents is that if they had 2 or 3 children, the children could not be on they couldn't log on at the same time.
But it wasn't a strong signal.
You got it.
Oh.
So either one person got knocked off or couldn't even log on.
Wow.
So that created so it's things like that that we were learning, and parents were saying, I don't know anything about technology. Right. So you have to remember, most people do know about technology, but a lot of folks don't. Yeah. They don't know.
We're making the assumptions. And I think by us living in our own little bubbles, we don't realize how much of a bubble we live in.
Right.
We don't realize how many things that we consider simple, basic tasks. We take it for granted, and other people don't have access to.
So one of the problems, they asked the parents, do you have access to the internet? A lot of them said yes, or you have access to a computer. Well, they said yes, but many of the parents, particularly folks who are poor, were using the libraries. What happened? The library shut down. So that was their access. So they have no access.
Right.
So
I remember the story that went viral about the 2 kids sitting in front of the Taco Bell getting the Wi-Fi to do their homework on the corner.
That's real. I mean, that is real. In Sacramento, the school district worked with regional transit to use the buses as hotspots. But guess what it created? It created a whole issue with the emissions and the fumes from the buses. So it's, you solve one problem, but another challenge happened.
Wow.
It was really good, but it was like, oh my goodness. So the pandemic, I know the pandemic has really changed our lives in more ways than we can think of.
So when we attend this Zoom candidates forum meeting, what can people expect to hear from these candidates?
So they'll be able to meet. So for example, the current president of the board, Miss Jessie Ryan, she's the current president of the board. She's confirmed. So you'll have an opportunity to hear her. You have an opportunity to see her. And there's other people that will be there.
Are they going to expressly be talking about, as I'm sure everyone is concerned, like we're talking about, what is the future of the Sacramento City Unified School District?
I'm hoping that the parents will raise that question, and if no one raises that question, we're going to raise that question and everything. We want parents and community members to realize this is your opportunity to engage with those folks who are running for school board, because these are the folks that are making policy that's going to impact your child, and everything. And we really want them to understand that and all. So they have an opportunity to pose those questions to them.
That sounds like that's going to be a really good forum. And again, these are things that are right here now at the tip of our fingers.
Yes.
That prior to COVID, most people may have ignored.
They may have ignored, or they said, "Oh, I can't go. I have, you have to drive someplace." Or right now, you don't even have to get out of your jammies.
Mm-mm.
You can just turn on Zoom.
No excuse.
Right.
You don't have to go to the computer. You can just click a button on your
phone
and
yes.
it'll open up.
Yes.
You don't have to show yourself.
Right. You got it. You got it. And that's what we tell people. We don't care how you look, just log on.
Log on and show up.
Yes.
So now the campaign for, I want to make sure I say the name of the campaign right so we can tag it right. The Voter Education Project, Black Votes Matter. What's the expectation of this campaign?
The expectation is for folks, particularly Black folks, but for all folks, is to, if you're not registered, to get registered, to show up and vote on whatever day, but for sure by November 3rd to register, and to really begin. You have a lot of time between now and then to begin to educate yourself. So if you're not familiar with the particular topic,
if all I know is that I want to vote, if I go to this page,
if you go to this page, you can find out information on
how to get registered.
Matter of fact, if you go to the Sacramento County voter registration, you type in your birthday, your zip code, and your address. It will I just did it. It will actually tell you the information about yourself, like when the last time you voted, and it will tell you whether you're a registered voter or not. And so it's different things like that.
So that link that you just said, though, is on this same page.
Yes.
Yes,
it's on the same page.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, how do we plan to vote?
So thank you. I think that is the biggest and the best question, is because things are a little different this year because of the virus, that people have to plan. And particularly if you're a parent of a child, you really have to plan. And I'm going to give you an example. Is normally people could go vote generally at the elementary school or a library in their neighborhood. You could just walk in and vote. We don't know if those places are going to be open again.
Right.
I went on the map and I was trying to see. So most people where I live voted at the Colonial Heights Library, and that's where I usually volunteer. So you could drop your ballot off there, and you can go into the community room and actually cast your ballot. So, and there's always long lines.
Pre-COVID.
We don't know if that's still going to be the case this time, because usually in the room there's at least 8 to 10 voting stations where people can vote
right next to each other.
So we know because of COVID that it's probably not going to be that many voting stations there. So that means the lines are going to be longer.
Right.
That means if you never know in Sacramento, you never know what the weather is like. So we tell people, plan your vote
because this is such an important vote time. People are going to wait it out. So you're saying, here's how you wait.
This is how you wait. You make sure you take some water, you take some snacks. If you
bring a lawn chair,
bring your little lawn chair. If you have children, or if your grandparents taking care of the grandchildren during the day, make sure they have some snacks. Make sure they have something to do. You just have to be prepared.
Right. This is not going to be a 15-minute, I'm going to go vote, I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Nope, I don't think so. In pre-COVID, it took people a while. You have to figure out where you're going to park.
Right.
Yeah, even though there's a parking lot, but what's going to happen when the parking lot is full?
Right.
So it's different things like this. Make sure you do your research and bring that research with you, so when you are ready to, when you get into the voting booth, you can do the voting. Or even if you decide to, have your ballot at home, you still have to conduct your research. So you have to have a plan. So if the plan is, I'm going to go wait and vote on November 3rd, you have to have one plan. If you're going to vote ahead of time, you still have to conduct your research. If you're going to take your ballot to drop it off at the library that you normally used to drop it off at, you have to make sure that library is going to be a drop-off point.
Right.
Or if it may be open, but it may not be a drop-off point.
So you're advising people right now, if you're listening, the place where you've normally voted, you should probably check right now to make sure that that's going to be a valid voting space when you want when it's time for you to vote.
And I checked the website earlier. They had a map, and I couldn't see the map. I kept trying to enlarge it to see the voting site. Mm-hmm. I do know that what's the big sports place that's downtown?
Oh, the Golden One Center.
They said that was going to be a voting site. Mm-hmm. If you decide you wanted to go there, mm-hmm. they said parking is going to be free, which is great, nice. But you still have to get there.
Right.
So can you imagine, as big as Sacramento is, and if the majority of the people are going that way,
yeah.
Oh, you're going to have to allow time to find a place to park.
Right.
Right.
That's then, really like going to a concert.
Right. And then walking there,
mm-hmm.
And then, so it's different things. Like, I think people have to think about that. Whereas before, mm-hmm. you didn't necessarily have to think about things like
that. Right. It's almost like shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you go to a store, some stores mm-hmm. are monitoring how many people are inside.
Right.
And so you have to wait outside.
Right.
And I gave that up when it happened to me twice. I said, I'm not doing that mm-hmm. anymore, because you're waiting and someone else is inside taking however long they're going to take. And you got to wait for them to come out.
Right.
So if that happens just for shopping.
Right. And you always have to remember, you have to wear your mask.
Yes.
So if you're waiting outside, you have to wear your mask to protect yourself and to protect others. Probably even when you get inside to actually vote, you have to wear your mask. So it's different things like that. So you have to. I'm hoping that the voter registration will provide some masks. Mm-hmm. I know if it's at our library, the Friends of the Library, that's a group I'm a part of, we're going to try to provide masks for people. Mm-hmm. But those are different things that you don't think about, mm-hmm. but you have to think about, because you don't want to drive up there to vote and then they say you need a mask and you can't get in, you don't have a mask.
Turned around.
You get turned. And see, we don't want any distraction. We don't want any impediments to mm-hmm. keep people from voting.
So just to kind of reiterate, before you go vote, map out your plan. Your mm-hmm. plan needs to include what you're going to vote on. Do your research about mm-hmm. your candidates, about the election issues in advance. And if you go to the sacramentoabc.blogspot.com site, it's going to give you all that information, all the tools to help you do your research. Non-partisan. Mm-hmm. Some of the things, I've been to the site, some of the things on the site kind of stick out at you, but at the end of the day, they're leaving it up to you to make your decision on which way you want to go. So prepare in that manner so that when you get to the polls, you already know what issues, how you're going to vote, which way you're going to vote mm-hmm. on the issues. Mm-hmm. Number 2, plan for it to take a certain amount of time. Get your food, get your snacks, bring your seat, your water.
Mm-hmm. If you have to take medicine on a regular basis, I'm being very sincere. You have to bring your medicine. So when people used to come to the library to vote, the average person stood in line 30 minutes, sometime up to an hour.
Okay.
So if you have to take medicine, if you got off from work and you came to vote and you normally take your medicine at 6:00 and you're standing in line, yeah.
Bring your kids. If you prepare for your kids, if you're not going to bring them. And then there was one more. Oh, make sure you practice safe social distancing. Bring your masks, whatever else you need to, hand sanitizer. We are going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to close this out with some final pointers from Miss Faye to get you ready for that 2020 election and Black Voters Matter. We'll be back right after this.
Thank you. That went well. I thought it went well.
It did. The information. I knew there was so much information here. If I print out more than 3 pages, we're good.
Right.
Hey, everybody watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Hey, Miss Colette. Yeah. Hi, Jamie. Hey, Mama. My mom is always watching. Hey, you guys. So, I'm glad I printed the information from the site. This is You're right. If you're teaching somebody else, you inevitably are going to learn as you put it out there.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and it was really good. I'm glad I saw that.
Some of the points that you guys have on the page that I wanted to, maybe I don't want to say these. This is on the page, and it talks about why this is such a significant.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
My feelings won't be hurt, but I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
But I do think that it is significant some people don't want to go down that road, but that's okay. That's okay.
We can just say in general, it's a significant election.
It's significant because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's more than it.
Racial reconciliation.
Yes.
The economy upside down.
Yeah.
This is not a sit out election. Are you registered to vote?
Always.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I ain't got no Zoom.
Well, I suspect you didn't mail your ballot in,
That's
or
right.
you're gonna go in.
That's it. If you get a chance, listen to the lyrics. So that's AK.
This one?
Man, it's called In Time. Man, this dude is such a deep lyricist. He sings so well, you forget how bad he is as a lyricist.
Oh wow.
His song is called In Time.
In Time. Oh wow. Okay.
That's the AK King.
Well, you're recording it on the thing, right? Okay.
No, don't worry about that, man. You didn't hear his lyrics though, man. They make you think. Because really a lot of his lyrics are based in spirituality too. Or people don't know that. But if you listen to something, oh man, this song, I love something that's called In Time. Man,
now you're gonna make me go back. I like AK's music anyway, and so
yeah, but you got the lyrics in this song, period though. If you just sit back and listen to the lyrics in the song, man, this dude's bad. It's bad, Today's his birthday.
Is it?
It is. That's why we're playing this.
Oh. I should send him a text. Happy birthday.
Yeah. September birthday.
And excuse my ignorance, is he local?
No.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with Davis.
Vegas.
You
can't get that dude to come out of Vegas.
Oh, okay.
He came down here the one time and did a show that Jay had going.
Oh wow.
And just killed us. He cut me because he told him, he said, man, y'all ain't ready. I wasn't gonna lie. Man, he just, to me, he's one of the smoothest cats since Marvin Gaye. Everything he does looks like he's just not doing nothing.
And what people don't realize, Marvin Gaye recorded a lot of music that spoke to the issues at the time, like ecology, what's going on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is actually what kind of got him in trouble for a little bit with the record industry.
Okay.
Right? Motown and all that, yeah. Because he was like, hey, man, my music got to be there. Like, hey, man, your music got to make up money.
Well, usually, music like that typically does when it's going against the grain, but it's still very, you can't take away you can't, when an artist is really an artist, you can't, put them in your box.
But that's why you had, independent artists even back then. But the thing is, the company is, look, we done made some money in you. We want it back. So I kind of understand that too.
That sells. Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we have been spending this hour speaking with Miss Faye Wilson of the Sacramento Area Black Caucus. Miss Faye.
Oh, thank you. I am so glad to be here, and thank you for having this show. Thank you very much, and I look forward to listening to other folks that you bring on to talk about the importance of voting and how do we get ourselves ready to vote. So thank you very much. This is really important.
It's my pleasure. It's our pleasure. It's part of the station's values and mission statement, and that is for this air to be the channel of communication for the things that serve our community to help us meet those needs. And so as long as I'm able, I'm going to use this platform up until the November 3rd election to help get the word out, to help our listeners know that it's important to vote.
It's important to vote, and that if people don't feel comfortable going to our blog, there's many different, you can go to the League of Women Voters. You can go directly to California Secretary of State to get information. You can go to Sacramento County Voter Registration to get information.
Wow.
Another place that provides wonderful information, they're a group of young, dynamic Black women organized for political action. They have wonderful information. So you don't have to come to ours. What we want you to do is gather the information, make your decision, and either vote before November 3rd, but definitely vote come November 3rd. So that's our whole goal.
We were talking that this is an important election, and without getting into details, just some of the categories of why it's important.
We are in the middle of a pandemic, a health crisis that's really taken over the world, not just the United States, not just California and Sacramento. You know, we have more than 196,000 people have lost their lives. Some of those folks I know personally, some of those folks you know. We have more than 6 million people have been infected. That's a lot of people. So that's one reason. We have high numbers of unemployment nationally, but particularly in the Black community here in California and Sacramento. We have a reckoning in our country around the issue of race and class. People want to talk about race, but it's also race and class that we have to come to grips with as a country. And so all of those are happening together. It's a convergence of all of those things that are happening. And we as everyday people, you know, I'm not a famous person, you know, I'm retired now, but before I retired, I had to get up and punch that clock, go to work like everybody else, but I feel like my voice, I can make a difference. Everyone that's listening can make a difference. And so that's why we're encouraging you to come up with your plan, how you're going to vote, conduct your research. And so it's like we calling on you. You know, you can, we know you can do your part. I'm going to do my part. Folks around me, I know they're going to do their part. So,
this is not an election cycle where it's okay to sit it out. This is not an election cycle where if you are 18 or older and Black in America, you don't have the luxury of sitting this one out.
We want you to step up. And if you're not sure, ask someone in your family, go to the blog, go to other folks and say, well, I'm not sure. Someone will help you figure it out and everything.
Because we understand also culturally that for some in the Black community, maybe voting wasn't common in your household. But who's to say, why can't you be the first? If no one in your family has voted before, if voting has been looked down upon for whatever reason, because you know how we do in our community. If the white man do it, then we ain't doing it. Okay, and you know what I mean. But
no, I totally get it. And I think sometimes people who don't understand the historical significance of the vote, and I always like to tell the story. My parents are, they passed on. But when you came from the deep rural South, you couldn't vote. And even if you tried to exercise the right to vote, you were met with some serious resistance. And when I say resistance, I mean
it resulted in death for a lot of people.
And I think people
were put out of their communities, houses burned
down. They lost their homes, they lost everything. So I think sometimes people don't understand that.
Right, the connection.
Yeah, they don't understand that. I found out 20, 30 years ago that when my father in those days, he used to call right insurance. He used to sell insurance to people. He would help people get registered to vote. He would, in those days, people had the poll taxes. You had to answer the question. So he would work with people, on some of the questions that they may be asked, like who was the Supreme Court? Who are some of the senators from your state? So different things like that. So there's people can play different roles, but this time we want you to step up. We want you to get registered. We want you to vote,
whether it's voter role.
We want you to play the voter role. And then, because if you're a parent of children, particularly parent of children under the age of 18, you're modeling the behavior you want them to model. I saw my parents vote. I saw my parents participate.
And this is just one part of us being a stronger community and self-sustaining. When we become people that vote often, then we're going to be looked at and valued in that manner. Just as when more of us become business owners, when more of us become homeowners, when more of us become financially invested in not just our own personal gain, but the community. Then that's when you start seeing, that Black vote really does count.
Does matter.
So right now, this year 2020, the Black vote, I don't know if people know the significance right now of the Black vote, just as it pertains to us being consumers. Now we look at ourselves as it's a negative that we consume so much. And at the same time, many of these big companies don't make decisions without consulting with the Black segment, because we have what I like to call, and a name I made up, Black people magic. You know, if we don't say it's popular and good enough, then it ain't popular and good enough, because culturally, our culture, people love it. Right. And I love that they love it. And I don't say that to be boastful, because God has made all of us significant, but there are just some special things that go on with Black people that just are like, wow, fascinating. They can do that. Right. And so because of that, that makes us valuable in the eyes of other cultures. And so if Oprah wears something, if Iman the model does something, who's somebody else famous? I'm throwing names out there that probably can't nobody relate to. But people, you know, T.I. They want to buy something, you know, they want to wear it. You know, you've got a lot of individuals who are not Black borrowing from us and becoming wealthy from it. Let's just leave that at that. I just say that to say that because of that, that's another reason why our vote right now, it really matters. Really matters. You've got this young generation, as you implied earlier in the show, the Black Lives Matter, not the organization, but the movement. Many of those kids are not Black that are, you see their faces in the news. These are white. They're white, individuals. They're brown, they're Asian. Because we're realizing as a nation, we're realizing as a world community that Black lives really matter. That if we really are going to be about humanity, we have to really look at those individuals who are not living, I won't even say the American dream, who are not living the dream because of poverty. And I think that we're seeing this younger generation stand up like this because they don't, the world that I grew up in during my time, that you grew up in, the further it gets away from the harsh, you know, the slavery, the racism, I'm now much more connected to you. Yes. So if I'm white and you're Black, I really am not looking at you as color. I'm looking at you as a friend. Right. Not knowing all of this past history that happened. And now you're trying to tell me my friend can't come here and do this. I don't even understand what any of that means. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Another thing we're trying to help people understand is the census, is that we want people to participate in the census. The census ends at the end of this month, September 29th, if my memory serves me right. Okay. So if someone either calls you, I'm gonna let you get that in real quick, and then we're gonna. If someone calls you up or knocks you up at your door, you can complete the census online yourself. Is that information available on the website? I don't think I put the census information there, but we can make sure we get that information to you about the census 2020.gov. Right. We can make that information available. We want people to be counted in Sacramento, because that's money coming into our state, our city, for our schools, for our libraries, for job training. Please participate in the census and everything. I want to thank you again for being on the show today, Miss Faye. We got to have you back, y'all. She says she's retired, but she's a busy woman. Can I just tell y'all, she's hard to get a hold of. You've listened to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are selling Sacramento. And until next time, if you're doing what you are created to do, I will see you at the top. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Oh, thank you guys for joining in. I'm late. I'm so sorry. It's okay, Mike. Good to see you. Good to see you. Miss Faye, we got to do a little fake picture. Okay. Let me put that up here. Because it's just a freeze frame where she's just going to look in the camera and smile, because it's going to just take it. There you go. Yeah. And we're going to let the camera, at some point, I'm going to stop the camera and do a little freeze frame. Okay. Tell everybody bye. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot. See y'all next time. We're out of here.